As soon as Katie was afloat, we paddled out, heading along this wonderful 30-mile stretch of South Shore, which is just a tiny portion of the estimated 400 miles of Moray coast. The Moray is all cliffs, rocks, intriguing little coves and stunningly beautiful beaches that can stretch further than the eye can see. The Moray is the biggest of all the Scottish East Coast megafirths, a full 70 miles wide across the mouth and thrusting deep, deep inland. Dozens of rivers and streams, including the Spey, the Ness, the Conan and the Bewley, drain into the Moray, bringing huge amounts of sediment down from the plains and mountains of northern Scotland. But the glacier-scraped Moray is 600 feet deep in places, so it will never fill before the next ice age comes along, and the mighty Great Glen Glacier returns like an angry house-proud giant and shoves all the outwashed litter of rocks and sand further out into the North Sea. The Moray geology is mind-bendingly complex. The faults of the Great Glen runs through this area of sedimentary rocks, which have been transformed by the once molten granite incursions like fat marbling through a piece of good beef. This has all been reshaped by the recurring Central Belt Glacier and sea levels that have bobbed up and down through the millennia, long before man ever pitched up here. After following this delectable coast for 30 miles, we turned north across the Dornoch Firth, where we planned to find a nice, sandy, peaceful spot on which to park Katie for the night.
I'd say so, yeah. The Firth hasn't opened out yet, has it?
The Dornoch has a wonderful entrance, and tucked away behind the slightly sinister promontory of Tarbot Ness is an entrancing labyrinth of gracefully sculptured sandbanks, as perfectly formed as physics can ever make them. I began to feel at home putting in late shoreside tacks made only when scraping sigh of centre plate on sugar-textured Scottish granite sand gave warning of shelving water to come.
Sorry. summer. This is it, boys. Yep. It's done it again. Beautiful, though.
You need to jibe, do you? What's the bet? As an East Anglian shallow sailor, I began to feel in my element. I could have played here for hours, but it was getting late in the evening, and after 14 hours of sailing, Jill was ready to stop. So we tucked in behind Tain Bar, dropped the hook into 4 feet of clear water with a nearly complete 360 degrees of shelter, and settled in for the night.
Shelter, 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 superb sky, shelter, shelter, superb sky, shelter, 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 entrance to the sea.
The next morning, well, what could be nicer than to slide the hatch back and find yourself in a place like Tain Inlet?
Good day. That is not really digging in, is it?
Walked around a bit and breathed in the wonder of it all. As the tide started to invade our place of sand and certainty, we returned to the boat to breakfast on toast and Dundee marmalade while watching the twice-daily miracle unfold around and underneath us. Tides are amazing things. Some ancient cultures thought that they were powered by a seaweed-draped Neptune-style over-the-horizon jolly green giant who gently breathed the water back and forth. Us modernists are too sophisticated for such beliefs. We now know that the tides are caused by water molecules in the sea talking with the molecules 250,000 miles away on the moon. Scientists tell us that something called God particles are involved in this process, a theory which I find is barely more credible than the now widely debunked water-breathing big man nonsense. As soon as Katie's keels kissed goodbye to the sandy tidal bed of the Tain, we headed out back around Tarbert Head and into the expanses of the Moray. Despite the current calm, the weatherman was promising a bit of a northerly blow the coming night, so we laid a course for the excellent shelter and twee little shops of Lossiemouth on the south shore of the mighty Moray. Just as we turned west along the shore, dodging the endless nets and pots, 3 dolphins turned up.
Yeah.
We were only doing 2 knots with the tide, and they started a little slap dance.
Here they come again.
For each other? For the fishes? For us? I don't know. I've asked around and not got a good reply as to what you see unfolding here.
3 of them. Underneath.
Is that there?
Yeah. Perfect.
So you're ready to eat?
I guess. All 3 of them now.
All flapping their tails over. Wow.
When we turned south towards Lossiemouth, the northerlies started to get behind us and Katie powered through the growing swell. By the time we got close to the lossy shore, it was starting to get a bit nasty, and I was very pleased once we made it safely through to the harbour entrance. That night the wind got a bit serious, but we were safe and snug and warm and dry inside this lovely little haven. I sleep very well when stormbound in safe harbours. Wonderful.